The alien marketplace was alive with chaos. Strange creatures filled the streets under the pale light of two moons. Neon signs in languages humans could not read flickered above metal stalls. Sharp voices shouted prices while hovering drones filmed everything for buyers far away. In the center of this madness stood a human man. His boots were cracked. His jacket carried dust from 100 roads, and his face looked like it hadn't smiled in years. He didn't belong here among the rich traders with their gold badges and glowing credit chips. He had nothing that made him look important, except the way he stood, tall and unmoving, like someone who had already lost too much and refused to lose again. His eyes stayed locked on the stage. Two small alien sisters stood inside a narrow cage there. They were thin, with silver-blue skin that caught the light and made them look like statues carved from ice. Their antennae trembled as the crowd laughed and whispered. The older sister held the younger one close, shielding her with trembling arms. Everyone in the marketplace knew the man who waited to bid. A green-scaled alien, big as a bear and dressed in a coat lined with black fur, leaned on his cane with a cruel smile. He had bought many slaves before. Some were never seen again. People said he enjoyed breaking things that couldn't fight back. Now his red eyes glowed as he stared at the sisters like a predator waiting to strike. The auctioneer, a thin creature with 4 insect-like arms, banged his metal staff on the stage. "Two rare sisters," he shouted in common tongue. His voice was sharp, cutting through the noise. Young, healthy, obedient, a matched pair, perfect for work or anything else. The crowd laughed. Some cheered. Others leaned forward, hungry to see a fight if one started. Opening bid, 500 credits. The green-scaled alien raised one hand lazily. 1,000. The price doubled at once. A few traders cursed under their breath. They had no chance at that number. The sisters shrank back in their cage. The human didn't move. His face showed nothing, but his hands slowly curled into fists. 1,500, shouted another alien, thin and sharp like a walking stick. The green-scaled alien smiled wider. 2,000. The crowd murmured. It was a game for him, a game he always won. But then, slowly, the human raised his hand. 2,500. The words hit the crowd like a shockwave. Heads turned. A poor human challenging the richest buyer here? He must be mad. The green-scaled alien chuckled. It was not a friendly sound. 3,000, he said softly, like he was already bored. The human's voice came again, calm but hard as iron. 3,500, gasps, whispers. Someone laughed nervously. Where was this man getting that kind of money? His boots alone looked like they cost more pain than credits. The auctioneer grinned, sensing a fight worth watching. 4,000, shouted the green-scaled alien, his smile now thin and sharp. 4,500. The human didn't even blink. The sisters were staring at him now. Their small fingers clutched the bars. 5,000, snapped the green-scaled alien. His smile was gone. The crowd roared at the number. That was enough to buy a small ship or 10 grown slaves. The human hesitated. His hand lowered for a moment. People began to laugh. But then he looked at the sisters again. 2 pairs of terrified eyes looked back at him. Something in his face changed. 6,000. The words were quiet but clear. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Even the auctioneer froze before shouting, 6,000 credits offered. The green-scaled alien didn't move. His eyes burned red, but he stayed silent. He would not bid higher. The auctioneer began to count. Going once, going twice. The crowd held its breath. The human stood very still, but inside his heart pounded. If the alien raised his hand again, he had nothing left. Nothing. Sold. The auctioneer slammed his staff down. 6,000 credits to the human. The marketplace exploded with noise. Some cheered. Others cursed. The sisters stared at the man who had just bought their lives. And the green-scaled alien? He was smiling again. But now it was the kind of smile that promised trouble. The noise of the marketplace still rang in the human's ears as he stepped away from the auction stage. Traders were already shouting for the next sale, but the crowd kept looking at him. A poor man, outbidding the richest buyer in the sector? It would be remembered for a long time. The two sisters were led off the stage by a guard holding the cage keys. Their eyes kept following the human, wide and full of questions. They didn't know him. He didn't know them. Yet he had thrown away everything he had for them. Behind them, the green-scaled alien moved slowly through the crowd. His red eyes burned like coals under his heavy brow. His guards followed, tall brutes with shock sticks hanging from their belts. The human didn't look back. Not yet. The sisters were handed to him once the payment cleared. The younger one clung to the older sister, her antennae shaking with fear. They didn't speak. They looked at him as though waiting for him to turn cruel like all the others before him. He didn't. Instead, he knelt to their level. "You're safe now," he said softly. His voice was rough but steady. "No one will hurt you." The older sister blinked, unsure if she believed him. But before he could say more, a shadow fell over them. The green-scaled alien stood there, smiling in a way that made the air feel colder. "Safe?" the alien said, his voice smooth like oil over a blade. "Oh, human. You have no idea what you've done." The human stood slowly, placing the sisters behind him. "I paid the price," he said. "They're mine now. It's over." The alien chuckled. It was not the laugh of someone amused. It was the laugh of someone who knew things others didn't. "Over." He leaned on his cane, his smile widening. "I could have gone higher, 10,000, 20. But I wanted to see how far you'd crawl. And you did not disappoint." The human said nothing. The alien's eyes glinted. "You care for them." It wasn't a question. The human's jaw tightened. The alien looked at the sisters, his smile turning sharp. "I can offer you something. A trade. You give them to me, and I'll give you double what you paid. 12,000 credits. Enough to buy yourself a ship, maybe even a small farm on one of those quiet moons." The younger sister gasped softly, clutching her sister's hand. The human shook his head. "Not for sale." "Triple then," the alien said smoothly. 18,000. More than you'll see in your entire miserable life. I said no. The alien tilted his head, pretending to think. "Ah. So it's not money you want." His smile twisted. "You like them, then? Is that it? Keep them close, play hero, until they grow up. I've seen men like you before." The human's eyes flashed with anger. "Watch your mouth." The alien grinned wider, enjoying the reaction. "Or what? You'll fight me? Here? In front of all these people?" He leaned close. "You don't want that, because I don't fight fair." The older sister stepped forward suddenly, as if to protect the human. Her small hands were shaking, but she glared at the alien with silver-bright eyes. He laughed at the sight. "Feisty little things. I like that. They don't last long, though. Not in my hands." The human moved so fast no one saw it coming. One moment he was standing still, the next he had grabbed the alien's cane and shoved it aside. "You come near them again," the human said in a low, dangerous voice. "And I don't care how rich you are. I will put you in the ground." The marketplace went silent around them. The alien stared at him for a long moment. Then he smiled slowly, like a snake before it strikes. "Oh, human," he said softly. "You've just made this very interesting." He stepped back, his guards closing in around him. "Keep your little prizes. For now. But the galaxy is a big place. Accidents happen. Ships go missing. People disappear." He turned away, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Enjoy your victory while it lasts." The human watched him go, muscles tight, every sense screaming that this was not over. The sisters clung to him now, no longer just afraid of the alien, but of what would come next. The human looked down at them, then at the dark streets ahead. He had won the auction, but the real battle was only beginning. The sisters followed the human closely as he left the noisy marketplace. Their small hands held tightly to the back of his coat, like baby birds clinging to the last branch in a storm. The sun of this alien world was setting now, painting the sky red and gold. The streets grew darker, filled with shadows and whispers. Traders closed their stalls one by one, while strange creatures moved through the alleys, some looking for buyers, others looking for trouble. The human walked fast. He didn't want to stay here longer than needed, but he had a problem. 6,000 credits. Everything he had saved over years of hard work was gone in one reckless bid. He had no home now, no ship to take him off this world. Only the two alien sisters walking beside him. And somewhere in the dark, the green-scaled alien was watching. The human didn't doubt it. He could feel eyes on him. The sisters felt it too. Every time a shadow moved, the younger one gripped his coat tighter. The older one kept looking behind them, her silver eyes sharp with fear. Finally, they reached a quiet corner behind a closed shop. The human stopped to catch his breath. The sisters stood close together, shivering though the night air was warm. "You hungry?" he asked softly. They nodded. He searched his coat. 3 coins. Not enough for real food. Maybe enough for bread, if the seller was kind. He swore under his breath. He had been a fool, he told himself. A broke man buying trouble he couldn't afford. But then he looked at the sisters again. Their thin faces, their scared eyes, the way they held onto each other like the world might break apart if they let go. No, he wasn't wrong. He would do it again if he had to. He left them in the corner for a moment and walked to a food stall. A tired alien woman stood there, ready to close for the night. "How much for bread?" he asked. 5 coins, she said without looking at him. He opened his hand. 3. She finally looked up, saw the sisters waiting in the shadows, and her face softened. She pushed a small loaf toward him. "Take it." He nodded his thanks and carried the bread back. The sisters ate quietly, breaking it into small pieces to make it last. The human leaned against the wall, watching the street. His mind was heavy with questions. Where would they sleep tonight? How long before the green-scaled alien came after them? Because he would come. The human knew it as surely as he knew the suns would rise tomorrow. The alien had money, power, and friends in dark places. The human had nothing but 2 hungry children and a handful of coins. He thought about leaving the planet, but ships cost money. Money he no longer had. And he couldn't go to the law here. The law served whoever paid the most, which meant he had to find another way. "Why?" The voice was soft. It was the older sister. The human looked at her. "Why what? Why you buy us?" she asked slowly, her common tongue broken but clear enough. The younger sister looked up too, waiting for his answer. The human didn't speak for a moment, because he didn't really know how to explain it. He had been in another marketplace once, years ago, when soldiers came and took his little brother. He had been too poor, too scared, too weak to stop them. He had never seen his brother again. So when he saw the sisters on that stage, shaking in their cage, something inside him had snapped. He couldn't let it happen again. Not to them. Because nobody else would, he said finally. The older sister studied his face like she was trying to read words that weren't there. Then she nodded slowly. They finished the bread. The human told them to stay close as they moved again through the dark streets. But danger was already following. Far behind them, the green-scaled alien watched from a balcony, his red eyes glowing faintly in the night. One of his guards leaned close. "Do we take them now?" the guard asked. "Not yet," the alien said softly. His smile was slow and cold. "Let the human think he's safe. It will make the ending sweeter." He turned away, his coat sweeping behind him like a shadow with teeth. The hunt had only begun. Night covered the alien city like a heavy blanket. Strange lights still glowed in the streets, but the noise of the marketplace was gone. Most traders had locked their stalls and vanished into the dark alleys. The human walked fast, the 2 sisters close behind him. Their silver skin reflected the dim light as they held hands tightly. They didn't speak. The younger one kept looking over her shoulder like she felt something chasing them. And she was right. Somewhere in the shadows, the green-scaled aliens' men followed. Their boots made no sound. They moved like hunters stalking prey. The human knew they were there. He didn't look back, but his eyes scanned every corner, every rooftop, every alley mouth. Years of surviving on dangerous worlds had taught him one thing. The most dangerous enemy is the one you can't see yet. He needed a place to hide. Somewhere safe. Somewhere the aliens' men wouldn't dare to go. But safe places cost money. And he had none. Finally, he stopped at a small, broken building at the edge of the city. The roof sagged, the walls were cracked, but it had a door and 4 walls. Tonight, that was enough. Inside, he told the sisters. They obeyed, stepping carefully into the dark room. He found an old lamp and lit it. The weak glow pushed back the shadows just enough to see. The younger sister sat close to her sibling, her antennae trembling. The older one watched the human silently, her silver eyes sharp and questioning. "Rest," the human said. "We move again at first light." The sisters didn't answer, but they didn't sleep either. The human checked the door twice, then sat near the window where he could see the street. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, battered metal case. Inside were a few old credit chips, a photo of someone long gone, and a small black key with strange markings on it. The sisters leaned closer, curious. "What is that?" the older one asked softly. The human looked at the key for a long moment before closing the case again. "Something that keeps us alive," he said finally. He didn't explain more, because that key wasn't just metal. It was the last piece of his brother's ship, the ship the soldiers had taken years ago when his brother disappeared. The key could start it. And that ship, hidden somewhere far from this city, was fast enough and armed enough to get them off this planet if they could reach it. But the cruel alien couldn't know. If he learned about the ship, he would come with everything he had. The human had to move carefully. Outside, in the street below, 2 shadowy figures waited, the alien's men, watching. One spoke into a small comm device. "He's inside. Orders." From the other end came the green-scaled alien's smooth, cold voice. "Not yet. I want him afraid first. Let him think he escaped. Tomorrow we take the girls. And maybe him too." The guards smiled in the dark. Inside the building, the human felt the weight of every decision pressing on him. The sisters were quiet now, half asleep against each other. But their faces showed fear even in dreams. He knew the alien would come. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. And when he came, there would be no mercy. The human checked his small pistol. Only 4 shots left. Against the alien's men, it wasn't enough. He looked at the sisters again. The younger one stirred, whispering in her sleep. The older one stayed awake, watching him carefully like she was trying to understand him. Finally, she spoke. "You fight him?" The human nodded slowly. "If I have to." "You will lose," she said softly, not as a threat but as a fact. The human gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe, but I won't let him take you." The girl didn't answer. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. A storm was coming, fast and heavy. The human stared out the window, his jaw tight. He had to reach the ship before the alien struck. That was their only chance. But the alien was already moving his pieces. Tomorrow would bring blood. And the human knew it. The storm hit the city just before dawn. Rain poured from the sky like the planet itself wanted to wash away the night. Lightning cut through the dark clouds, and thunder rolled across the streets like angry drums. Inside the broken building, the human was already awake. He had not slept. He had kept watch all night, pistol in his hand, eyes on the door. The sisters slept on the floor wrapped in his old coat. The younger one curled against her older sister's side, shivering each time thunder shook the roof. The human stood by the window, scanning the street below. It was empty now. The alien's men had disappeared before the storm came. Too quiet. He didn't like it. Something was coming. He loaded the last bullets into his pistol, checked the case with the black key, and pushed it deep inside his coat. The ship was miles away, hidden in the desert beyond the city. If they reached it, they would have a chance. The older sister stirred. "We leave?" she asked softly. The human nodded. "Soon. Stay close to me, no matter what happens." She held his gaze for a moment, then woke her younger sister. They ate the last piece of bread in silence. Then they stepped into the rain. The city felt different now. Too empty. Too still. Water ran through the streets, carrying dust and trash into the drains. The storm had chased most people indoors, but a few shadowy figures still moved in the distance. The human kept his hand near his pistol. They made it 3 streets away before the trap closed. Figures stepped out of the alleys, blocking the road ahead. More appeared behind them, silent and armed. The green-scaled alien walked through the rain like he owned the whole planet. His coat dripped water, but he didn't care. His red eyes glowed under the gray sky, locked on the sisters. "You should have taken my offer, human," he said, his voice smooth as always. "I told you the galaxy is a dangerous place." The human pushed the sisters behind him. "Stay back," he told them softly. The alien smiled. "Hand them over and maybe I let you live." "Maybe." "Not happening," the human said. The alien's men laughed. There were 10 of them at least, armed with shock rifles and blades that glowed faint blue. The human had 1 pistol. For bullets. In no time, the alien took a step closer. "Do you even know what they are?" He pointed at the sisters. "Their species is rare. Their blood cells for more than gold. Some say it heals. Others say it makes soldiers stronger. People will pay anything for them. And you think you can keep them?" The older sister flinched. The younger one gripped her arm tighter. The human raised his pistol slowly. "Last warning," he said. The alien laughed, loud and sharp. "Kill him. Bring the girls." The first guard stepped forward. The shot rang out like thunder. The guard fell into the water, rifle splashing beside him. The street exploded into chaos. The human grabbed the sisters and ran for the side alley as more shots cracked behind him. The rain turned everything into blur and noise. Shouting voices, flashing lights, the hiss of energy blades cutting the air. One guard lunged at them. The human fired again. Missed. Pushed the sisters behind a broken wall as a blade sliced the air where his head had been a second ago. He slammed the guard into the wall, stole his weapon, and fired point blank. The guard collapsed. "Move!" the human shouted. They ran through the narrow alleys, water splashing under their feet. Behind them, the alien roared orders, his men spreading out to cut them off. The sisters stayed close, silent and terrified, their thin bodies shivering from rain and fear. Another guard blocked the way ahead. The human fired his 3rd shot. The man dropped. Only 1 bullet left. The streets twisted like a maze. The human knew if they reached the desert road, they might make it to the ship. But the alien's men were closing fast. Then they reached the edge of the city and stopped. 3 more guards waited there, weapons ready. The human shoved the sisters behind an overturned cart. His pistol felt too light now. 1 bullet would not save them. The green-scaled alien stepped into view, smiling through the rain. "End of the road, human," he said softly. "Hand them over." The sisters held each other, trembling. The human raised his pistol anyway. His hand didn't shake. "Come take them," he said. Rain still poured over the city like the sky wanted to drown everything below. The human stood in the middle of the empty street, 1 pistol in his hand, the sisters behind him. The green-scaled alien smiled slowly, his red eyes glowing in the storm's light. His men spread out, forming a wall of blades and guns. The human had only 1 bullet left, but his face showed no fear. The alien tilted his head, amused. "You can't win, human. You've got 2 scared children, 1 dying gun, and nothing else. Why fight? Sell them to me. Take the money. Save your own life." The sisters held each other tighter. The human's jaw clenched. "I don't want your money." The alien stepped closer, water running down his scaled face. "Then what? Why risk everything for 2 little creatures you don't even know? Tell me, human, what makes them worth dying for?" The human didn't answer at first. He looked at the sisters. Their silver skin shone under the rain. The younger one hid her face, but the older one stared back at him with wide, frightened eyes. He lowered his pistol a little. "You want to know why?" His voice was rough. "Because someone once took my brother. Soldiers came to my village years ago, said he was healthy, strong, perfect for their work. I had nothing to fight them with. I watched them take him away. The sisters listened silently. I swore, the human said, his voice like iron now. If I ever saw it happen again, I wouldn't stand by. Not again. Not to anyone. He looked at the alien. So here I am. The alien laughed softly. So this is about guilt. About your own ghost. How noble. How stupid. He raised his hand, signaling his men forward. But then something unexpected happened. The older sister stepped in front of the human. Her small hands trembled, but her silver eyes glowed bright in the storm. You want us, she said to the alien in a shaky voice. Because of our blood. The alien's smile widened. Smart child. You're wrong, she said suddenly. The alien paused. Our blood doesn't make soldiers stronger, she continued. It kills them. Slowly. Like poison. The guards exchanged uneasy looks. The alien frowned. Lies. The older sister shook her head. That's why we were sold cheap before. People tried to use our kind. They died. Everyone who takes our blood dies. The human stared at her, shocked. The alien's red eyes narrowed. He didn't like surprises. Then why do some still want you? The girl's voice was calm now, steady. Because they don't know the truth. The rain hammered the streets. The alien's face twisted with anger. Enough talk. Take them. But his men hesitated. None of them wanted to touch the sisters now. The alien turned on them, roaring, Move! That was when the human acted. He grabbed one of the fallen guard's weapons from the ground, a long shock rifle still charged, and fired into the wall of men. Lightning cracked as the first guard fell. The sisters ran as the human pulled them toward the side alley. Chaos exploded. The alien shouted orders, his men scrambling. Rain turning the fight into a blur of water and light. The human fired again, clearing a path. The sisters stayed close, their small feet splashing through puddles as they ran. They broke through the line of guards, racing toward the edge of the city. The desert beyond waited, dark, wet, and empty. Somewhere out there was the ship. The alien roared in fury behind them. This isn't over, human. His voice echoed through the storm. You can't run forever. But the human didn't stop. They reached the last road out of the city. The rain turned to mist as the buildings fell behind them. The desert stretched ahead, wide and open under the storm. The sisters ran beside the human, breaths ragged, hearts pounding. The older one looked at him. Where are we going? To a ship, he said. One that can get us off this planet. The younger sister stumbled but kept running. Behind them, the alien's men regrouped, chasing through the rain. But the human had the black key. And once they reached the ship, everything would change. The storm followed them into the desert. The human ran hard, the sisters close behind, their small feet splashing through the muddy ground. The city lights grew smaller behind them until they vanished in the rain. Ahead stretched empty land, broken only by rocks and twisted trees bent by the wind. Somewhere out here, hidden under the sand, was the ship. The human's hand stayed tight on the black key in his coat. It was old, scratched, and ugly, but it was the only thing that could bring the ship to life. Without it, they were dead. Behind them, lights appeared in the rain. The alien's men were coming fast. The older sister kept looking back. They follow us, she said, her voice shaking. The human nodded but didn't slow down. Keep running. We reach the ship before they reach us. The younger sister stumbled, nearly falling. The human scooped her up in one arm, carrying her while the older one ran at his side. The desert wind howled like some angry beast. Finally, they reached a flat stretch of ground marked only by 3 jagged rocks. The human stopped, dropping to his knees. He brushed away the wet sand until metal glimmered below. The ship's hatch. He jammed the black key into the lock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then lights flickered under the sand, and with a deep rumble, the hatch began to rise. The sisters stared as the ground split open to reveal the ship beneath. A dark, sharp-edged craft shaped like a bird of prey. Its metal skin was scarred from old battles, but its engines still hummed with power. The human pushed the sisters toward the open hatch. Inside, Now! They climbed in, eyes wide with fear and wonder. That was when the first shot came. A blast of blue energy struck the ground near the hatch, throwing sand into the air. The humans spun around. The aliens' men had arrived. At least a dozen of them, weapons glowing through the rain. And at their center stood the green-scaled alien, his coat whipping in the wind, his red eyes burning like fire. "You can't run, human!" the alien shouted over the storm. "That ship won't save you." The human raised his pistol. "You want them? Come and take them." The alien smiled slowly. "Kill him. Bring me the sisters." The guards advanced. The human fired first. The blast lit up the rain, dropping one of the guards in a heap. Another shot hissed past his shoulder as he dove behind a rock, returning fire with the stolen rifle. The sisters crouched in the hatch, watching with wide eyes as the battle exploded around them. The desert became a storm of light and sound. Rain hammering the ground, guns cracking, blades hissing. The human fought like a cornered wolf, each shot precise, each move desperate. But there were too many. 2 guards rushed him at once. He dropped one with a shot but took a cut across his arm from the other's glowing blade. The alien laughed. "You can't win, human. Give up before they watch you die." The human's breath came hard, but his eyes stayed cold. He slammed the last bullet into his pistol. "This isn't about winning," he said. He fired. The shot hit the fuel cell on one guard's pack. The explosion ripped through the rain, throwing men and sand into the air. The sisters screamed as fire lit the night. The human grabbed the older sister's hand, pulling both girls into the ship. "Hold on to something," he shouted. The alien roared, charging forward with his last men as the human slammed the hatch shut. The ship's engines woke with a scream of power, shaking the ground as they burned through the storm. The alien reached the hull, pounding on it with his fists as the ship tore free from the sand. The sisters held each other as the craft rose higher, leaving the alien and his men below, their lights swallowed by the rain. Inside the cockpit, the human gripped the controls, blood running from his arm but his eyes steady. They broke through the clouds, the storm falling away beneath them. The sisters stared at the stars appearing above like bright silver holes in the black sky. "Where we go now?" the older one asked softly. The human looked out at the endless night. "Somewhere he can't follow." The younger sister leaned against him, tired and trembling. Behind them, the planet shrank to a wet, dark ball in space. The alien was still down there, angry and alive. He would not stop hunting. But for now, the sisters were safe. For now, the human had won.